Assalamualaikum and hi! Today, our group will be presenting about community and ecosystem ecology. There will be two chapters for this topic, which are ecology of community and community development.
Assalamualaikum and hello for everyone. So today I will present this subtopic, which is ecology of communities. So the first thing is populations and community. What is population? Population do not occur as single entities, and population is a part of community. So next is a community. A community is a group of populations of different species interacting with one another in the same environment. Next is community structure. Community structure consists of species composition and species diversity. Species composition is a simple listing of the different species found in that community. Species diversity is a measure of species richness and the number of individuals within each species in the community. Here is the difference between the coniferous forest and tropical rainforest. Coniferous forest has a composition which is different from tropical forest. It also has narrow-leaf evergreen trees, which is prominent in the coniferous forest. It also contains different types of mammals and plants compared to tropical rainforest. Next is tropical rainforest. It also have different composition from coniferous forest. The broad-leaf evergreen trees are numerous in this forest. The tropical rainforest has more species, which means it has higher species richness compared to coniferous forest. Species diversity is a relative abundance of each species. The greater the species richness, which means the greater the species diversity. Closer islands from the mainland tend to have more diversity than further island. Large island also have more diversity than small island, so it has a greater species richness. So next is community interaction. Community interaction consists of habitat and ecological nature and competition between population. So the first is habitat and ecological niche. Each species occupies a particular position in the community, which is where it lives and what is the function. Okay, habitat is a particular place where a species lives and reproduces. So the example of habitat is forest floor, swift stream, and seashore. Ecological niche is the role a species plays in its community. So the example of ecological niche is the methods the species use to acquire the resource it needs to meet energy, nutrient, and survival demands. So here is the example of habitat and ecological niche. So the animal is dragonfly larva. The habitat for dragonfly larva is pond or lake. It eats other insects. The pond which the dragonfly larva live must contain vegetation where it can hide from its predators. The water must be clear to see its prey, and the water must be warm to keep the dragonfly larva active. Species niche is determined by temperature, precipitation, competitors, parasites, and also predators. Lastly is competition between population. The competition occurs when members of different species try to use the same resource. The example of the resource is light, space, and nutrients. No competition if the resources are not in limited supply.
Predator-prey interactions. Predation. Predation occurs when one living organism called a predator feeds on another called prey. Parasitism is considered a type of predation because one individual obtains nutrient from another. Presence of predators can decrease prey densities and vice versa. Also, population density of the predator can be attached by the prevalence of the prey and vice versa. One of the situations that we can look is when a gardener takes prickly pear cacti to Australia from South America, and surprisingly, the cacti spread out of control until millions of acres were covered with the cacti. The cacti is then brought under control when a moth is introduced from South America. Next, predator and prey populations may fluctuate in size. This is because increase in predator population size is dependent on an increase in prey population size. Instead of steady state, a series of peaks and valleys may result with the predator population lagging slightly behind that of prey. One of the examples that we can look is snowshoe hare and Canada lynx. At first, investigators thought that the decreased population of the snowshoe hare is because of the Canada lynx. But actually, food shortage can be the main cause of the decrease in population of the snowshoe hare. Prey defenses. It is a mechanism that decreases the possibility of being eaten by a predator. One of the defenses the animal use to avoid being captured by the predator is camouflage. Camouflage is the ability to blend into the background, so it will make it hard for the predator to detect them. Some animals have cryptic coloration, for example flounders. Besides that, most animals have warning colorations. It tells the predator that the prey is potentially dangerous. One of the characteristics that the animals have is brightly colored, false eye spots, and elaborate structures. Another defenses that most animals have is heightened sense, protective armor, and protective spine. Mimicry. Mimicry happens when one species resembles another species that possesses an overt anti-predator defense. There are two types of mimicry. A mimic lacks defense of the organism it resembles, called Batesian mimicry. Once an animal experiences the defense of the model organism, it will remember the defense mechanism and avoid any animals that look similar. Another type of mimicry is called Mullerian mimicry. It is a mimic that shares a protective defense with other species. Many stinging insects, for example bees and wasps, have familiar alternating black and yellow bands. These are the examples of the mimicry among insects.
About symbiotic relationships. Symbiosis is the close association between two different species over long periods of time. There are three types of symbiotic relationships, which are parasitism, commensalism, and mutualism. Here are the definitions of each symbiotic relationships. For parasitism, it is a type of symbiosis in which one of the species causes some harm to the other but does not attempt to kill it. As for commensalism, it's symbiotic relationships between two species in which one species is benefited and the other is neither benefited nor harmed, while mutualism is a symbiotic relationship in which both members benefit. As you can see in the table, it shows that for parasitism interaction, the first species will get benefit from the second species, but it will be harmed. As for commensalism, the first species will get benefit from the second species, but there will be no effect to it. It will not be harmed nor get benefit from the first species. Lastly, for mutualism, both species will get benefit from each other. Let's go deeper about symbiotic relationship. Parasitism is similar to predation in that an organism called a parasite derives nourishment from another called a host. The effects of parasites on the health of the host can range from slightly weakening them to actually killing them over time. When host populations are at a high density, parasites readily spread from one host to the next, causing intense infestations and a subsequent decline in host density. Parasites that do not kill their host can still play a role in reducing the host population density, because an infected host is less fertile and becomes more susceptible to other causes of death. In addition, host organisms also provide their parasites with a place to live and reproduce, as well as a mechanism for dispersing offspring to a new host. For example, tongue-eating loaves. It enters fish through the gills. Other than that, female Anopheles mosquitoes, the causative agents of malaria. Mosquitoes become infected when they ingest a blood meal from a human carrying plasmodium gametocytes, the sexual stage parasite cells responsible for malaria parasite transmission. For commensalism, one species provides a home and or transportation for the other species. It is possible that the movement of the host is impeded by the presence of the attached animals. For example, barnacles that attach themselves to the backs of whales or the shells of horseshoe crabs are provided with both a home and transportation. Other than that, clownfishes live within the waving mass of tentacles of sea anemones. Because most fishes avoid the stinging tentacles of the anemones, clownfishes are protected from predators. Lastly, remoras are fishes that attach themselves to the bellies of sharks by means of a modified dorsal fin acting as a suction cup. Remoras benefit by getting a free ride and feeding on a shark's leftovers. Lastly, mutualism, which both species will get benefit. The outcome of mutualism and its intricate web of species interdependencies is critical to the community. For example, some sea anemones make their homes on the backs of crabs. The crab uses the stinging tentacles of the sea anemone to gather food and protect itself, while the sea anemone gets a free ride that allows it greater access to food. In Mexico and Central America, the bullhorn acacia tree is adapted to provide a home for an ant species. Unlike other acacias, this species has swollen thorns with a hollow interior, where ant larvae can grow and develop. In addition to housing the ants, acacias provide them with food. The ants feed from nectaries at the base of the leaves. The ants constantly protect the plant from herbivores and other plants that might shade it. In areas of the western United States, the branches and cones of whitebark pine are turned upward, meaning that the seeds do not fall to the ground when the cones open. Birds called clouds nutcrackers eat the seeds, and the whitebark pine trees and store them in the ground, thus acting as seed dispersers for the trees.
So today I will continue with the next subtopic under the community and ecosystem ecology, which is the community development. So under community development, so we will learn about the ecological succession. So ecological succession is a change within a community involving a series of species replacement, and there are two types of succession that we will learn. So first is primary succession. So for primary succession, it is the formation of soil from exposed rock due to wind, water, or another abiotic factor. So it usually occurs in areas that have no base soil, such as volcanic eruption and glacier retreat. So for secondary succession, it is the disturbance-based succession because there is a progressive change from grasses to shrubs to a mixture of shrubs and then the trees. So it usually occurs in area where soil already present, and it is occur when the cultivated field turn into the natural state. So these are the example of the primary succession. There are four types of succession that we learn. So first is the rock or lichen stage. So where the lichens and mosses invade the area left vacant by the retreating glacier. So next is the shrub stage. So for the shrub stage, we can see that the small bushes grow in the newly abandoned soil. So next is the low tree stage. So for the low tree stage, so the fast growing elder trees help to boost the soil nutrient and water content. So it provides the nutrient and water to the soil to be used for the next stage, which is the high tree stage. So the high tree stage live in the improved soil condition, and it allows the widespread which is the western hemlock community to develop, and eventually moving toward a more mature and stable community. So next we will learn about the pioneer species. So the pioneer species is the first producers to inhabit a community after a disturbance, after the succession. So it also the first species that will begin the secondary succession. So there are three types of succession that the pioneer species will undergo. So first is the initial stage that will begin with the small short-lived species, and it proceeds with the species with mixed size and lifespan, and it continue with the large long-lived species of trees predominate. So there is a model about the succession that being introduced by the scientist, which is the F.E. Clements from 1916. So he introduced the term of the climax community. So the climax community is the succession in a particular area that will always lead to a mature and stable community. So there is three types of model that F.E. Clement have developed. So first is facilitation model, which is being called as a climax theory. So for facilitation model, it said that each group of species will prepare the way for the next, so that the grass shrub forest development can occur. So next model is the inhibition model. It said that the colonies hold on to their space and inhibit the growth of other plants until the colonies die or damage. So next is the tolerance model. For tolerance model, it said that the different type of plants can colonize an area at the same time. So all this model is related to each other and related to the primary succession, which is from no basal, and then they have nutrient, and from the nutrient they will have the community that live there.
That is all from our group. I hope everyone understands well, and thank you.